Hello and welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. If you are new here, my name is Heather and this is my greenhouse. So we are coming into our 5th gardening season here on our homestead. We live in southwestern Kentucky, zone 7B, and our estimated last frost date for the winter is around April 19th, April 20th, somewhere around there. We have a growing season that's about 189 days long, so it's very long. We're very grateful for that, so we can plant a lot of things, and we do plant a lot of things. Last year, I really had more of a production type garden. I grew a lot of green peppers, a lot of tomatoes, and that was basically it. I did have a few little odds and ends that I grew in my raised bed garden, but mostly those were the two things that we really brought in a lot of. But I'm more focusing this year on variety. So I have labeled this video as like an unboxing. Truth be told, I have already opened the package. I couldn't remember what I ordered and I really needed to know what I ordered in order to plan exactly what I was gonna grow. So we're gonna go through what I ordered. Some of this is new stuff that I bought this year. Some of this is stuff that I got in seed swaps, and some of this is stuff that I've just grown in years past and is not really new to me, but I wanted to go through all of the varieties of things that I'm going to be growing this year, and there's a lot of new stuff that I didn't even know existed that I'm super excited to show you. So traditionally I have grown in 2 separate planting areas on our homestead. We have this big greenhouse and I have a raised bed garden that we plant a lot of food in as well. My kids have their own garden. This is not necessarily what's going to be represented in their garden. They're going to make their seed selections in a little bit. But I'm also growing in a 100-foot lane in between 2 of our pastures here, and that's a new garden this year. That'll be a new garden space. And then I need to come up with another place to plant a good bit of corn. I have grown corn in years past. This is peaches and cream corn, which is a hybrid corn. And the last time I tried to grow corn, I think it was one of those really pretty multicolored heirloom varieties, and it did okay. It just wasn't amazing. We're gonna try really hard to get a decent crop of corn this year, so we're gonna be planting the whole package of this and possibly a couple other varieties. So I have a whole bunch of cowpeas that I'm planning on planting in the center aisle. These will climb about 4 feet high. I've got 2 different varieties here that I got from Baker Creek. These are heirloom, and so I plan on holding back some of the seed for future years. I didn't bring out the green beans, but I am also going to grow, I think I bought contender bush beans, and I also have some Blue Lake bush beans that I'm going to be planting in here. Another cool thing that I'm putting in the greenhouse that I have grown outside of the greenhouse in the past is going to be some okra. Okra really loves heat. It can get hot in this greenhouse, and I think it'll be kind of cool to see basically trees, the big okra trees that these can become growing inside the greenhouse. So I have Okinawa pink okra and then Alabama red, which I don't have very many of these seeds, but I don't need very many plants to get the amount of okra that our family's going to eat. So this is going to be kind of cool. Last year we didn't grow much in the way of cucumbers, and that's going to change this year as well. So I got these in a seed swap. I don't remember, it doesn't say on it who I got them from, but salt and pepper cucumber. I've not grown this variety before. We have grown the Armenian white cucumber before, and we're growing it again this year. The Armenian white is technically a melon, and it's very delicious. It gets very large very fast while keeping the same kind of quality inside. And when they get real big and we don't know what to do with them, we have juiced them in the past and mixed them with lemon juice and made a cucumber lemonade that is amazing. And something I really wanted to try this year is to grow gherkin cucumbers. I want to pickle them whole and have cute little, classic gherkin cucumbers like you find at the grocery store. I've never done that before, and I'm really excited to try those. I'm going to be putting in some shelling peas in the garden really soon. These are going to be frost tolerant to a degree, and I think that right about now is a good time to plant peas in our area. Actually, I've only ever grown peas once before. It was in 2019, and I planted them in the middle of July and actually got a decent crop for how hot July can be here. So this is a different variety than I grew before. I've actually never grown this before. The Green Arrow shelling pea. So we're hoping to get at least a few bags, gallon-sized bags of peas for the freezer so I can put them in our pot pies over winter. My mom wants me to grow this variety of lettuce. I've grown it in the past. It's very delicious. Little gem cause. I'm gonna be starting these soon since these are also frost tolerant and need to be grown when it's a little bit cooler out. And we don't normally have a super long spring before we're thrust straight into really hot weather, and so these will be good to plant soon. Very classically, I'm going to be putting the Kajari melon into my garden again this year. This I'm going to have to grow on a trellis, and it has done very well for us in years past. It's super striking and really delicious. It's my husband's favorite part of the garden every year. So there's a lot of new things in my hand here that I'm super excited about. And I think the most exciting thing to me this garden season is going to be these bush watermelons, and it's something that I had never seen before. These are supposed to be mildew resistant, and I plan to actually grow them in the greenhouse. So on the website it says that these tendrils will only get about 18 inches long, and each melon should only produce about 2 to 3 picnic-sized watermelon. So they tout this as a container variety of watermelon, which is really cool, but the compact size is going to make it possible for me to grow it in a row here in the greenhouse, and I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to be trying to grow the sugar-ready winter squash. We have a huge problem here with squash vine borers and squash bugs, so I'm hoping that this hybrid variety has a little bit of resistance to both of those things, and we also could benefit from a little bit of mildew resistance as well. So we're hoping by growing this variety that we will be able to get a good harvest of spaghetti squash, because I love it, but squash, it's just hard to grow around here. So I have hope though. Here's another variety of squash that I'm growing for my kids. It's just going to be something fun for them to look forward to and watch grow. These are the batwing pumpkins, and they've got different splashes of black on the typical orange background, and I think these are going to be really fun just to have. I've always wanted to grow a scallop type squash, and I'm hoping that the squash bugs and squash vine borers allow me to do that. This is a hybrid variety, the early white bush scallop. So I'm going to try to grow these in the greenhouse as well. I feel like not, you know, it's not foolproof, but the cover of the greenhouse maybe helps protect them a little bit from the bugs, maybe makes them a little less visible from the air. I don't know. Here's to hoping, but we're going to be planting this. And this one's really fun. This is another variety of squash that I've seen people grow that seems to be pretty resistant to some of the common pests that the squash deal with in our area, the birdhouse gourd. So this is actually my plan for Christmas gifts this year. I like to give Christmas gifts that we produced here on our farm, and this is going to be a real fun one if it works out. I hope it does. And if it doesn't work out, this is my backup plan, or it could be a companion gift should both things work out. But I'm going to try to grow some loofah, and I got this seed from a seed swap. Another variety of squash. Clearly I have high hopes for the squash this season. This is the delicata squash. It's a bush variety, and I've grown delicata in the past. It is a squash that kind of looks like a cucumber. It's beautifully striped, and the inside tastes a lot like sweet potato, and the skin is so thin on it that you can eat it just like you would eat on like a zucchini or something like that, but they last a little bit longer in storage than something like a zucchini would. They don't last as long as, you know, maybe a butternut squash or something like that, but they have a little bit longer of a storage life than a zucchini while still having that softer skin that you can just roast and eat and not have to peel. Last year, we had a very interesting hybrid, an accidental hybrid that came up in our garden. We lovingly called it the armpit melon. And from what I could tell, it was a cross between a Kajari melon and another type of melon called Charente, which is basically like a cantaloupe, a small personal-sized cantaloupe. And so I kept back some of that F1 hybrid seed from our armpit melon, and I'm going to try to grow it this year just to see what it does. There's a very good chance that it's not going to be at all like the melon that we had last year, but I'm super interested to see exactly what this does. So this is just for fun, as a lot of this is really just for fun. And remember how I said I wasn't going to grow very many peppers or tomatoes? Like, I am. I have a problem, but it's gonna be a nice variety. I'm going for color and I'm going for flavor this year as far as the tomatoes and the peppers go. So let's go through these. Violet sparkle pepper. This one is very pretty. It's not a huge pepper. It's about the size of a jalapeno, and it has a nice thick wall. This is a sweet pepper. And this is a pepper that I grew in the greenhouse last year, the California Wonder. It's a very, very classic, very reliable, nice, hearty, boxy green pepper. I'm growing 2 different varieties of jalapenos. We like jalapenos fresh in the garden every year because we like to roast our own salsa that we can up, and this is a very vital part to our salsa. So we got 2 different varieties. Basically, I just want a little bit of color in there. This is one that we grew last year that I said I would grow every year simply because it has the most amazing, sweet, fruity, tropical flavor that is really hard to describe. You just have to try it. It almost tastes like a pineapple in pepper form. I'm not even kidding. It is the heatless habanero. There is a tiny, tiny little bit of warmth that you feel when you eat it. It's not totally heatless, but it's nothing like a habanero. So we're gonna grow that. This is the pepper that I grew last year, the candy cane pepper, and it's a beautiful variegated plant. The leaves have this lovely white striping on them, and the striping actually transfers onto the fruit as well. This one I'm basically just growing for beauty, and it is also delicious. And these are the 3 different new varieties of pepper that I'm going to be growing this year. Fire and ice pepper, the early sensation, and this one really intrigues me, the yellow monster pepper. These ones apparently get really big, but also are really delicious. So I don't have a lot to say about these varieties because I've never grown them, but I'm really excited to grow them. Lots of variety in the tomato department as well. This here I saved from my mother-in-law's garden from a couple years ago, the black vernissage tomato. It's a nice dark striped variety. This is my favorite tomato to grow in the garden, hands down, the giant Belgium tomato. They are a nice meaty variety, an heirloom variety that doesn't have a whole ton of seeds, but has an amazing sweet yet umami flavor. And if you haven't tried it, I recommend everybody try the giant Belgian. This is the tomato variety that did so well for me inside the greenhouse last year. We had an incredibly hot summer last year, and these guys didn't skip a beat. The Heatmaster tomato is supposedly a determinate variety of tomato where each plant really only puts on a set amount of blossoms, and so you're only going to get limited amount of fruit out of each plant. I didn't find the limits of this plant last year. It's a determinate, but in my opinion, it acts a lot like an indeterminate in the amount of food that it puts on. It doesn't exactly grow super tall. It was about 4 feet high, but the amount of blooms, it never stopped flowering, which was awesome. It's part of the reason we had so many tomatoes last year is I did not expect these guys to produce as well as they did. So those are going to be in my garden every year. This one's a free seed variety that I got from Baker Creek, and I've heard Jess from Roots and Refuge talk about this one before, the Thornburns Terracotta. I'm very interested to grow that variety this year. It's beautiful. I've grown this variety a couple times in the past, and this type of tomato, these darker tomatoes, are super great when you eat them raw. They have a nice smoky umami flavor that's not super overly tart, and they're just simply wonderful. And speaking of a tomato that's not overly tart, this one is good as well. This one is beautiful on the vine and has a really mild, pleasant, fruity flavor to it. And this is one that my daughter wanted to grow this year, so we're going to give it a go. She really likes striped varieties of tomatoes. Last year we tried to grow a Mr. Stripey tomato and got some kind of thing that wasn't a Mr. Stripey, and so she was a little disappointed, but we're going to give this one a go this year. And as far as smaller tomatoes go, I guess the black vernissage tomato, that is a smaller variety of tomato. Chocolate pear tomato. We've grown yellow pear in the past, and last year we grew, I think it was an orange pear tomato. I was really unimpressed with the orange pear tomatoes, but the yellow pear have been a favorite in our gardens in years past, so I hope that this one performs more like the yellow, but that's a first for us this year. This is my favorite cherry tomato that I actually started some last year, and I don't know what happened to them. I think I gave away all of my super sweet 100s. This is the best little tiny cherry tomato. Again, it's got that umami zip that you kind of feel in the back of your throat right here. I love it, and these are prolific producers that are very disease resistant. These will go all season long. This variety isn't as disease resistant, but its beauty makes up for that. So the black strawberry tomato, we grew it in the garden last year. Really, really yummy fruit too. These guys just aren't as disease resistant as some of the other ones that I've grown, but worthy anyway. And then we're gonna grow the blue cream tomatoes. Again, we've grown this a few times in years past, and these ones are super yummy and beautiful. I've got a few different odds and ends down here. This is a picture of Jack from Baker Creek on this one, but this is a variety of dill. It's called dill bouquet. And I have tried to scatter dill around our property before just to get it come up wild every year, and it doesn't. I haven't managed to get it to do that for me. Dill grows pretty much like a weed at my mother-in-law's house, but I haven't been so blessed, but I won't stop trying. I'm gonna pop a few of these Hedu tiny bok choys in the garden coming up here soon. These are a really fast turnaround and are a really great addition to stir fries. I put this in my seed starting pack every year and somehow I never managed to plant it. So it's one of my goals this year to make sure I put some Malabar spinach in the ground. It's really heat tolerant and it's supposedly really good for you. From what I'm told, the leaves of the spinach have that little bit of mucosa in them, the mucilage that's inside okra, the like slimy bits or whatever. That's really good for your digestion, and supposedly these leaves have that. It's not a texture for everyone, but I actually kind of like it, so I look forward to this. I need to make sure that I start us a good patch of ground cherries. These are a favorite thing to just run out into the garden and eat. We don't normally bring these inside in any kind of quantity because it's one of those things that we just eat while we're out in the garden. So gonna get those started. I have started tamarillos in the past and I want to try it again. I want to put them in a pot in this greenhouse and then probably bring them inside over winter and see if we can get a small little tamarillo tree out of it. I've never grown any variety of huckleberry before, but it is really intriguing to me. It says that their sweet purple berries are great fresh or cooked, larger than a wonderberry, but heavier yields. Very easy to cultivate, grow plants like peppers. Unripened fruit can be poisonous. So this is something new that I'm trying this year. And then I have a few different varieties of flowers here. There's gonna be more flowers than just this going in the garden. I know I'm gonna be planting some zinnia. I love zinnia, grow them every year. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't forget to plant this variety of chamomile. I've grown German chamomile in the past and I'm just wondering how different this variety tastes in tea. And then these two classics that I've grown before are going in the garden again. Borage, the bees just love it and it's quite beautiful. The flowers, and probably more than just the flowers, are edible. Tastes kind of like a cucumber. Yeah, it says cucumber flavored leaves added to salads, drinks, and more. So I've wanted to freeze the flowers of borage into ice cubes as something just kind of fun to put in our summer drink. So I think I'm gonna do that this year. And then alyssum. It's been a couple years since I've grown alyssum in the garden. I really like it. I haven't grown a whole lot of it, but it acts almost like a living mulch that does not snuff out the plants that it's planted close to. The roots are very non-invasive and they don't really disturb the other plants. So you can use it like a living mulch, and I plan to do that this year. Oh yeah, I've got plenty of seeds in there, so we'll see. And I know that there's more that I'm probably going to be adding to the lineup. I actually do have another seed order coming to me soon, and we will actually open that one on camera. We'll do a grand unboxing for that one. But in a couple days, we are actually going to be putting the starts out in the garden that I planted almost 8 weeks ago now for the spring frost tolerant garden. So let's go check on those seedlings real quick. I've got everything kind of zipped up in here because that cold front just came through and it's going to be 24 degrees in the morning, and I'd still like to baby these guys just a little bit. So obviously these guys are looking big and healthy. So right in front of me here, these are the purple cauliflowers, and then these are Waltham 29 broccolis, and all of these are very ready to get put in the garden, and so that's going to be a video coming up very, very soon. And I know a couple of you remember when I planted some seeds with my son Shaika. He wanted to plant some carrots, which we finally got some germination out of the carrots, and this was actually a really decent germination for how old those seeds were, so I'm really glad we did it. There's a lot of baby carrots in here. You see them in there? And these are the watermelon radishes. One of them is kind of purple, so I don't know, we'll see what that one does. And along here in this window box, there are several little baby lettuce plants that have germinated well. Now that a lot of these are up, it really won't be long before we're harvesting little baby greens out of this box. So I'm looking forward to it. So clearly I have a lot of high hopes for this season. I don't know if all of it's gonna work out, but some of it most of it is bound to work out pretty well. So if you're not subscribed already, please do so. I don't know when I'm going to be starting up my garden tours like I do every year, probably sometime in April when things are really getting growing, when our days are getting a lot warmer. We're not quite there yet. It's actually really cold outside today, but I cannot wait for spring.